What's going on, everybody? This is Mimic here, Throne and Liberty content creator. I'm coming in hot with another banger video. This one's going to be all about the best in slot traits currently for all your armor pieces, for your weapons. Doesn't matter if you're cloth, doesn't matter if you're leather or plate, doesn't matter what type of weapon you're using. I'm going to break it all down in this video. Just want to thank all my followers, all my people that are liking there, all my people that have been subbing to me, all the comments across all my videos. Thank y'all so much for your continued support. I really appreciate it. Without further ado, let's jump into the video. So best in slot, everyone was going to want to know, what the best in slot is going to be when NA launches. Right now, this is for KR, right? So best in slot for KR may be different for when the game actually launches in NA, but let's assume that everything stays the same. You're going to want certain traits on your items. You're going to want to keep those items, or depending on your build, you may want to sell them. It just depends on what you've got for your short-term and long-term goals. But let's jump in. So best in slot, right? It's going to depend if you're melee DPS. It's going to depend if you're tank. It's going to depend if you're ranged. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the melee portion, and then we'll get into kind of, the range or healer aspect of, what you want as far as best in slot for you. So let's talk about the weapon. It's pretty much straightforward. On the weapon, you can see here, I've got melee heavy attack chance. It's ranked up all the way. I've got stun chance on there, and I'm going to throw up melee critical hit. Now, those are the top 3 best in slots for a weapon. Now, this is for melee. If you are ranged, then you're going to want ranged heavy attack chance, and then whatever the secondary you choose. It's going to depend on your play style. So for best in slot, 100% without any kind of argument there, it's 100% going to be melee heavy attack chance. If you are playing NA launch and you get a green item or a blue item with melee heavy attack chance, you have 2 choices. You can either extract it and sell it for a lot of money, or you can hold on to it and use that to make yourself stronger. So choice is up to you. Now, I covered the traits in a different video. If you haven't checked that out, check it out. It's very thorough, and it talks about the trait list. But you can see best in slot for this elite broadsword is going to be the melee heavy attack, it's going to be the stun chance, and it's going to be the melee critical hit. Now, this is useless. You could go max health. If you're a tank, then max health on tank may be better than stun chance for DPS. So that's what I mean is best in slot's going to depend on your particular playstyle and what you are playing. For me, I'm going to go with stun chance because everything revolves around stunning on DPS on my greatsword. So stun chance, melee heavy attack, melee critical hit. Those are going to be the top 3 best in slots for me. But then again, for you, they may be different. And you can see what weapons or armors have which certain traits that are available, and from there you can determine what's best in slot for you. But I'm kind of giving you my own opinion on what I consider best in slot for me. It's up to you to run with it and figure out how you want to build your champ. So let's look at the necklace. Here you can see I've got skill damage boost plus 40. I'm going to get it to plus 60. I've got enfeeble chance plus 75, and then buff duration plus 4.5. Now, skill damage boost, again, is going to boost the amount of damage you do on your skills. So the more your boost is, the more damage you do. Enfeeble chance is going to apply or have a higher chance to apply your enfeebles, which are like your stuns, your slows, your CCs, things like that. So, and then your buff duration is going to increase the time that you're actually buffed. And the buff, what I mean by that is if, for instance, if I look at my champ here and I go to my character info, this is going to do base damage 41 for 3 seconds upon using mobility skills. That is a buff. That is a passive buff that I get anytime I use a mobility skill with my dagger out. Now, the more I have buff duration, it's going to increase the time that that buff is applied to me. So that is why I went with buff duration on this, because I want to be maxing my damage output. I want the buffs that I'm applying to myself to stay on myself longer, which is ultimately going to make me stronger and keep me in the fight longer, and I'm going to do more DPS. So if I'm looking at best in class or best in slot, I'm going to go to my trait list for the armor piece here, which is my necklace, and I can see here which are the best. Now you can see here, if you're looking at this, what do you think is the best? For sure, skill damage boost, like hands down, best in slot, number one. You want that on your necklace if your necklace can get it. So that's why I have it here as plus 40. I do need to get it to plus 60, but I'll do that here soon in the next few days. If you're looking at this, enfeeble chance will probably be your next bet, your next best thing, unless you were trying to you know, like you're a caster, then maybe you might want to go with max mana so you have more mana. So maybe instead of enfeeble, you would take max mana if you were using this. For me, I don't really need to worry about my mana. I'm there to kill people. I'm not there to sustain a long fight, and I don't need a lot of mana, even though I do have very bad mana issues. I usually don't worry about that in PvP. So for me, it made more sense to go skill damage boost into the enfeeble chance, which is what I have, and then into buff duration. For me, that was top 3 best in slot for me. It may be different for you. Again, I'm just kind of going into it on why I chose these things. So same thing, enfeeble chance, I'm buffing the time that I'm going to be doing, or I'm buffing the possibility of me actually enfeebling someone. So if someone has enfeeble resistance, I'm going to be countering that with enfeeble chance. And then again, like I said, the buff duration is pretty OP for me, because I'm going to buff myself and keep those buffs on me longer. So that's best in slot for me. And again, it's going to be different for you. Just look at the traits and figure out what's best in slot for you. But depending on your play style, what I would suggest is, if you're DPS, go with things that are going to make you stronger, right? Enfeeble chance, stun chance, critical hit, skill damage boost, buff duration. Things like that are going to make you strong. So those are going to be best in slot for you. But if you're talking about the number one best in slot, 100% skill damage boost on a necklace. Like if your necklace can take that, get it. You want to go to the market and try to snipe that skill damage boost, put it on a trait on your necklace, and then level it up later on. So that is the necklace. Let's go with the belt. I'm currently using this belt right here. I got it off a drop on a dungeon. You can see that the debuff duration is a 1.5%. For it, I haven't leveled it up. It's kind of weak right now, but I will be leveling it up soon. Let's look at what perks I can get, or what traits I can get on the belt. So for me, skill damage resistance, it's going to be best in slot, which I don't have yet. You could either go with enfeeble resistance, debuff duration, stun resistance, or max health. Now, number one best in slot is skill damage resistance, and that's what this video is about. It's the number one thing you want on your belt. Now, this belt can get skill damage resistance. Not all belts can. So you want to be looking for a belt that can have skill damage resistance, because that is the number one best in slot piece, trait that you can have on a belt. Now, it's up for deliberation if I want to go into max health, or if I want to go, and obviously it's got debuff duration already, so I would just level that up. I'm probably going to go with enfeeble resistance, and then I'm going to try to get skill damage resistance. So the end trait would be debuff duration, skill damage resistance, and enfeeble resistance, because that's going to stop me from getting CC'd in fight, which is going to keep me in the fight doing damage. So for me, that's what I'm going with on my Magnitude's belt, but 100% best in slot, skill damage resistance. Keep your eyes out for that if you guys are trying to put it on your belt. Let's go to cloaks. Cloaks. I went with skill damage resistance on this. It is 100% best in slot for the cloak. Not all cloaks can get it, so you'll want to be looking around to see which cloaks can. The elite assassin cloak can have these traits, and you can see skill damage resistance is number one best in slot for the cloak. I've got it maxed out at plus 60 right now, and then I went with enfeeble resistance as well. I think with my third passive, I'm probably gonna go either debuff duration or max health. It's probably going to be max health, just because I do need a little bit more health in PvP. Right now, I'm sitting around like close to 11,000. So I want to max my max health as much as I can. So that's up for deliberation. But again, the video is about best in slot. And for your cloak, it's going to be skill damage resistance, which is going to make you tankier, and you're going to resist spells and skills against people in PvP, which is going to keep you in the fight longer. and you're going to be able to fight and get kills more often if you're in the fight. So skill damage resistance on cloaks is 100% going to be best in slot. Keep your eyes on that. Boots. Boots are a little tricky. There is, so with boots, it's a little tricky because not all boots can get a movement speed, which I think is best in slot for boots. But again, it's up to you to interpret what's best in slot for you. I'm going to say without question that you definitely want to be stacking ranged evasion. So I'm going to go with best in slot ranged evasion on boots. You want ranged evasion. You're going to be getting hit by people with range skills. They're going to be doing a lot of DPS to you when you're turned around and when your back's turned to them. So you're going to want that evasion so that you can evade their binds, so that you can evade their stiffens, so that you can evade their critical hits, things like that. So for me, best in slot, ranged evasion. I followed it up with some max health because my character does more damage depending on my health, which you can see here on Vital Force. It says right there that my skill damage boost increases by 0.25 per every 100 current health. So I actually do more damage based on how much health I have. So for me, best in slot, it makes sense to do more max health. My third slot on here would probably be, like I said, it's probably going to be like magic evasion. I want evasion on my boots. I already have the max health. I already have the ranged evasion. I'm probably going to do magic evasion next. So that would be best in slot for me. Again, it may be different for you. On my legs, these legs are, I haven't even leveled these things. They're level 4. It's pathetic. But for best in slot on legs, all legs are different. You're going to want evasion. You're going to want magic evasion. You're going to want ranged evasion. And then you're going to want a third trait that synergizes with your build. For me, I'd probably go up max health on this. So best in slot for legs is going to be evasion. You can choose whether you want ranged or magic. Personally, I think range is better. So that's the legs. For helmet, again, helmets are a little bit different. Some helmets you can get cooldown speed, whereas other helmets don't give you cooldown speed. So best in slot for helmet is going to be the ranged evasion. So this one came with ranged evasion already. It's going to be either cooldown speed, or it's going to be a mixture of your melee evasion and max health. So again, it's kind of up for how you want to interpret it. If you're trying to stack health because you're a tank, then health is going to be your best in slot outside the cooldown speed. But for helmets, if your helmet can get it, CDR is going to be best in slot. So look for blue armor pieces, helmets that have CDR. You can flip them on the market for a lot of money. If you get them early in NA, you're sitting on a gold mine. Hold on to them. You can use them later to upgrade your blue items. You can use them later to upgrade your purple items. So best in slot for helmets, CDR. Okay, I don't have it yet. I will get it eventually. I'll put it on here and have it leveled up. For armor pieces, your main chest piece, again, this is going to be up for deliberation here on depending on what your specific needs are for your character. For DPS, you can see here ranged evasion is going to be the best. I got a pretty crappy roll here with mana regen, so I'll have to change that out eventually. But ranged evasion is going to be probably top 1, magic evasion top 2, and then you could go into another stat. This one it's a melee armor, but I feel like it's more for like it doesn't really have that good stats, right? It's got evasion, it's got magic evasion, but then it's got like mana regen and max mana. So it kind of has like a not so good third stat. So I'll probably just keep the mana regen since it's on there already, and then best in slot would be the range evasion and the magic evasion. You want evasion because people are going to be hitting you with big spells, and those spells are going to be doing a lot of damage to you, and you're gonna want evasion. It's going to help you stay alive longer. For your gloves, best in slot here, same thing. There's some gloves that have attack speed. I would think personally that would be best in slot, but again, it depends on you. For me, I went with the ranged evasion is the best in slot for me. It came with the range endurance already, which is not the best. I would rather have melee evasion instead of the endurance, but it is what it is. These are not the best gloves in the game either. There's purple gloves that are better, but this is what I have right now. So again, I'm going with ranged evasion for best in slot, melee evasion for number 2, and then you could choose if you wanted endurance or if you wanted to max out your mana pool. Depends on what you want to do there. So I covered all of that. Your bracers and your rings. Now this is going to depend on what you guys are doing on your tunes. For me, I didn't get the best roll on this. I could have gotten skill damage resistance on the bracer, which would have been best in slot, but instead they gave me collision resistance, which it's not the best. I would have, instead of if I was going to choose any of these, if I couldn't have the skill damage, I would have at least went with the silence resistance, because then at least I'm not getting silence. But this collision resistance is what it RNG rolled me, so it is what I have. But just so you guys know, on the bracelet, you do want skill damage resistance. That is going to be your best in slot there. Okay. On rings, same thing. Some rings won't have skill damage boost that you can have on them, but the good ones do. So if you have a ring, you want to be trying to get skill damage boost on it. It's number 1, the best in slot skill trait that you can have on your ring. Skill damage boost, followed with probably stun chance. And you could either get another more buff duration if I'm trying to stack buff duration, or I could stack max health because that does synergize with me. But like I said, best in slot, it's going to be the skill damage boost, 100% on the rings. So that's that. Let me look at my other ring here. You can see here, this ring will also allow me to have skill damage boost. So best in slot is going to be the skill damage boost. Same thing, I could choose either enfeeble chance, or I could choose buff duration and have max health. This one rolled with max health, so probably just going to level the max health up. It does synergize with my build, and then try to get some skill damage boost in there, and probably the buff duration, since I'm already building that on my necklace. So that would be best in slot for me. But again, number 1, skill damage boost on the rings. Be on the lookout for that, guys. When you guys play NA launch, you may get items. Keep your eyes out for these skill damage boost, skill damage resistance, because they're going to be huge. And you're going to want to hold on to them, or you could, extract a trait from it and flip it on the market for a big amount and make a lot of money early on. I think that's pretty much it. On my Thorny Edge, I have the melee heavy attack chance on there as well. So you can see here, plus 60 here. This is going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, plus 80 there. So I'm going to have plus 80 on the melee heavy attack chance here. I'm going to have the plus 60, which I have here. And if you actually look, there is some armor. So this armor, if you look, the General Fury's headgear, if you get any other of the pieces of this set, look at the set effect there on the bottom. So I only need 2 pieces. And if I do, I get melee heavy attack chance plus an additional 150, which is insane. So I'm going to have the 150 from the gear, right? I'm going to have the 60 from the weapon that I have here. I'm going to have 60 from the weapon here. Then I'm going to have an additional, once this is leveled, which is going to cost a lot of money, by the way, I'm going to have an additional 80. So what that means is I'm going to have a 29% chance for every single attack that I do to do double damage. That means roughly 1 out of every 3 to 4 attacks that I do are going to do double damage. And Great Sword attacks very quickly. So I'm going to be pumping out crazy amounts of damage once it's leveled and once I get my gear set. So didn't want to make the video too long. I did want to kind of go into what's best in slot per piece. Hopefully it makes sense, and hopefully you guys were able to learn something about what to look out for come NA launch, because I'm telling you, there's going to be lots of noobs selling stuff on the market for cheap. And if you guys know what the best in slot pieces are. You're going to be able to snipe them from the market, and you're going to be able to get stronger in the game. And of course, you won't know any of that information unless you watch this video or watch other videos about best in slot. But again, thank you guys so much for the view. Hopefully it makes sense. If you have any questions, throw them in the comment section. I do reply to those myself. If you like the video, smash the like button. It helps me out big time. And if you want to give me some love, all you got to do is give me a sub. Until next time, guys, thanks so much. Peace.